What's going on, guys? Sensible Prepper Live. We got a big setup. We're going to talk today about power, about off grid power. We're going to look at some different options. A lot of these are pretty much well known, but we're just going to go through some things, the positives, the downsides, what is out there, some things you may not have really considered, and why. Also, there's a lot about while you're at home, it could be traveling. While this is off grid, this could mean that you're just out of battery for your phone. It could mean that your phone's dead, which mine's about there right now. And you can put together something that you have a backup. And so, but definitely for your home can be very important. But we are on the road a lot as well. So we're going to talk about just power options. And guys, we just went through last year Helene, and we were out of power for a week, and we really tested out a lot of stuff. And so there are some things that just from actual firsthand experience we want to talk about, and some things about long grid or long power outages or extended power outages or completely off the grid. What are your options? What are you going to do? Before we get started, we want to give a big thank you to Exotac fire starters, the best on the market, made down in Winder, Georgia. Guys, fire will cook your food. It boils your water, gives you heat, gives you light, can keep predators at bay, and it just builds good morale. And having a fire kit's essential. I mean, this is something that you need to know how to make a fire. It's very important. You get 20% off using Such20 with the link down below in the description. Whether you go with Exotac or not, which is my all-time favorite, is get yourself a fire kit and have redundant tools for that. Also, one thing that I just want to announce. Now, we have not posted this yet on our website. We will tomorrow. We will tomorrow. We have a brand new Olight, and this is the Arc Pro. It's brand new. I actually did a review on this, but they haven't been available until Black Friday. And I happen to have one early. So what we're going to do is on our website, go to suchgear.com. But again, this will not be listed until tomorrow because I decided this at the last minute, of course. We're going to give this away, and just go to the website tomorrow and we're going to have it. You just enter your email address. We don't share the emails and all that stuff. Go ahead and register and get yourself in line for the Arc Pro. This is the only place that I'm going to announce it on video. Now, I'll probably throw it up on Instagram or something, but this is just a phenomenal light. In fact, in my pocket right now, I have an Arc Pro. These things are great. And this is the Stealth Bomber Edition. It's got really cool engraving on it. Has laser, has UV, has a spotlight, and a flood. And it's rechargeable. These things are completely awesome. So just look for this tomorrow at suchgear.com. But go ahead and run over there and join we do newsletters, we do giveaways, we do a lot of stuff at Such Gear. We have a lot of merch. So if you want to check all that out as well, we would appreciate it because YouTube sometimes can be a little wonky. Guys, we're going to talk, though, about some power possibilities. And I'm going to first start with just while you're traveling, while you're out and about in your vehicle, having something. Now, obviously, you can plug it in a lot of times. In fact, even in my car or my Jeep, I have a little holder for my phone, which is a charger as well. It runs it, or I can plug in some kind of USB into it. I mean, there's a lot of options there. But what if you're out of gas, you can't start your car? It could be really, with winter coming especially, there are things that can happen. You can be broke down on the side of the road, and you can run your battery life out on your vehicle. But just having, really, even out of just convenience, having a way to charge up your phone. Now, obviously, we all have these, battery backups. These things are great. I have one actually that Sarah Mack gave me, and it just plugs into the bottom of my phone. It's a little cube kind of thing, and it charges. It's really easy to use the phone while I'm charging it. But there are a lot of cool ways to do that. In fact, this is a Dark Energy, one of the best. This thing holds a charge for a long time. I was using it this past weekend at Georgia Bushcraft. And if you showed up at Georgia Bushcraft, we had a lot of people come by. And I just want to say it was a pleasure to meet you guys. We had the most fun. And they will be having a spring event. So you might want to plug into that because the classes just by themselves are over the top. But then there's a lot of vendors. There's a lot of stuff that will make you spend your money. Believe me, I spent quite a bit while I was down there. But having these little, I mean, and there's a ton of different types. One that I really like and use all the time is the Sarge. And this Sarge, it's a battery backup. I use this actually with a wireless connector, plug it in, and I've had these for a couple of years and they are just phenomenal. They hold a large charge with them and they do a lot of different setups. So, but a lot of times, guys, we've already got those, or if you don't, you should go by and pick one up. And you can just plug it in. I mean, there's some tiny ones, there's some different sizes, different shapes, whatever. Now, whenever we're having a power power outage threat, let's say a storm's coming through, especially with the winter coming on, you want to get your phone charged. Go ahead and get it charged, because if the power goes out, some funny thing is that's the first thing we talk about. Get your phones charged, get your devices charged, your iPads, whatever they are. Go ahead and get them fully charged. So if the power does go out, we can have that ready to go. And so that is just a normal basic thing. And let's just be honest, guys, we're going to be talking about power, but this is not necessarily just for grid down. It's not just for prepper. It's for storms, it's for disasters, it's for whatever we're facing. And you have a way to keep the electricity going. In some capacity, obviously there are the big home generators. Those things are awesome. The big Generacs, or in a lot of systems, even the EcoFlow, they're doing these home generators. They're great. Let me give you one caveat, because I have a friend of mine that has one and it's a natural gas. They don't even know it if the power's out. It just automatically shifts. The problem is when Helene hit, that it damaged a lot of the natural gas pipelines. They had to shut natural gas down. So, man, you're all set, you're ready to go, and then no power. And so make sure that you do have some sort of backup. You may have a big home generator, but having a backup generator, it could be just a small one, maybe to run your refrigerator or whatever, is going to be really smart if you have a total home generator. And there are a lot of options. I will say that even if you do, all of these options could be good to have available. So we ran a standard gas generator. It was a Generac. We ran it. It was beautiful. It really kept things going. It kept our power going on our refrigerator and our freezers and a lot of other things. We were able to do quite a bit. And that was really a big deal. This is more the smaller, quieter, I believe they call these inverters. And they are a generator. They're a little bit less power than some of your big cage generators that you use. But these, again, are very quiet. One of the things about having a standard gas generator is that it makes a lot of racket. And so, in fact, there was a guy that lives behind us. He was running his generator 24 hours a day, and it was a big one, and it was loud, and it ran and ran and ran. In fact, I ran into the guy later on, but I was like, man, I mean, it was crazy. Now, we're going to talk about some downsides, some things you need to think about. Just like I talk about with the fire kit, it's important to have a Bic lighter because it's so convenient, but it's also great to have a ferro rod because it'll go on and on and on. I mean, you can get a lot of strikes out of a ferro rod, but it's this. And then too, maybe you have some matches, some lifeboat matches. Sometimes the situation, it's good to have some multiple tools. Same thing with power. If you've got one thing, like they say, 2 is 1, 1 is none. And that's one thing that they really found out, especially in the Asheville area or in North Carolina. I remember that a lot of people were like, oh, we're set. And then all heck broke loose and they didn't have power. So having a gas generator, but what's really beautiful about generators is you can have a dual fuel or even just a propane, or you can have gas, or you can have natural gas, propane, and gasoline. So that's a tri-fuel. And your generator will run on those different ways. To me, that gives you a lot of options. Now, for us, we don't have natural gas that's piped into our area, so we're limited. But to be honest with you, I really like propane better. And it's just one of those things that I like to store up, a lot of propane, because it's very stable. I can put it, and we have it in the building, and we have it stored away. But with gasoline, and I just did a video about long-term gas storage. If you do it right, it can last up to 3 years. But the best thing to do is to keep that rotated about every 6 months, even though it's going to last long, even though you got stable in it and you're good to go. Go ahead and replenish it, put it in your car, drive it. You're going to need it anyway. Non-ethanol gas, you need that. Metal jerry cans are the best for gas storage. If you've got plastic, that'll work, but metal gas cans are going to be better. One thing about what we dealt with Helene is that we had gas, and that was a big deal because we could go just 2 exits up on either side of us, and they had power on. So we were able to access that gasoline. You may not be able to access gasoline. It may be a big general area. And if it is, like a big hurricane, especially down in Florida, sometimes, it gets kind of dicey up there. I know when Sandy hit New York, I had some friends of mine that lived up there, had solar panels on their house, which we're going to get to that as well. And people were coming up and going, "How do you have power?" And they were like, "Well, this is why." But it was out for a long time. So it may be a longer term. So having some gasoline stored up properly is going to be important for a generator. And you should keep it away from your house. Again, I want to refer to that video, but there are some points in there I want to bring up because we go into a lot of details with gas storage. But again, non-ethanol is your best bet with these small engines. The problem with ethanol is that it has corn alcohol that boosts it. It can only last between 3 and 6 months. You don't have a lot of time with ethanol gas. There is a pure gas, I think it's pure-gas.org, that'll find non-ethanol gas available at the stations in your area. So check that out. I may try to put the link down below in the description. It's not there yet, but it is on our gasoline long-term storage video. So keeping your generators maintained. One thing that we try to do is once we're finished using it, is we either siphon the gas out to reuse it, or if it's a little bit left, we run it until it stops. We let that gas just go out because here's the problem. Gasoline stores well in a container out of the sunlight in a good ventilated area, but in your carburetor, it's more accessible to the elements. And so you need to think about that, not just draining your tank, but actually allowing the motor, whether it's a lawnmower. I mean, I know we just finished, winterizing our lawnmowers and everything, letting that gas run out. It gets it out of the carburetor. If you have ethanol gas in your carburetor, it will make a disaster out of your carburetor. I mean, it actually leaves deposits and it makes it very difficult. And it erodes the seals. And again, it has alcohol in it, which creates condensation, and there's a lot of problems. So you really want to stick with non-ethanol gas. We're very fortunate. We have a number of different stations around us that have non-ethanol. And so we can access that, and that's what we store. So having whether it's an inverter, which this has a lot of appeal because it is quieter. Honda makes a great one that just is very quiet. But still makes some noise, but it's definitely a lot less because one of the things about having a big generator in a bad grid down situation to where people become desperate is that can attract attention. But having a gas generator works beautifully. Another thing about gas generators is for your refrigerator, you don't have to run it all the time. You can run it about 4 hours, then you can just leave it for about 4 hours. Just don't get in and out of it when it's off. When your generator's on, that's when you want to get in and do anything you need to get out of your refrigerator for cooking and those kind of things. But for standard keeping your refrigerator going, 4 hours, then let it take a break. 4 hours, let it take a 4-hour break. And then overnight, we typically just let it go and keeping it closed. One thing that's kind of cool about a lot of the new refrigerators and freezers is if the power goes out, it seals up. The seals actually close up. On our new, we just bought a new freezer about last year or so. And as soon as that thing goes out, it'll close up. And so it makes it even tighter. It keeps everything in there longer. So even if it's just a small little gas generator, guys, having that is going to be really important. Now, one thing that's just as important is having the correct extension cords. One of the things that we did at first, we had a bunch of extension cords. They were heavy duty in a sense, But when you're running a big generator, and I didn't want to bring my full generator in here because it would have taken up the whole table. But having the right extension cords, you can burn these up. You can cause surges. There's a lot of things if they're not capable of handling that power. So you want to get something that is really made for heavy duty use for generators. And listen, you can go to Lowe's or Ace or Home Depot or wherever and ask the guy, say, hey, what are the best cords? Because actually, we were in a Home Depot when a lot of this stuff was going on, and the guy told there were some people in there trying to pick up some extension cords, and they said, hey, that's not going to work for your generator. You're going to have a problem. You could cause a fire with that. So making sure that you have the correct, really heavy gauge. And I wish I could give you the exact size, but I don't have that right off the hand. But you can look that up. But again, maintain your generator, keep it clean, make sure your oil's changed when it needs to be changed. And again, keep that thing empty, keep it stored away. One issue I will say with a gas generator, especially, is that you want it away from your house. You don't want it right up next to your house because the fumes and everything will come right back in. There was a family that had a generator in their garage. And so they're running the generator out in their garage. It filled their house with carbon monoxide and it killed the family. They didn't even realize it. They just died in their sleep. So keep your generator. Number one, don't put it in your house or don't put it in a garage in an enclosed area. Number two, take it and put it outside, cover it, but you don't want to keep it from making noise because some people you're going to be tempted to kind of, oh, let's insulate it, but it needs the air to be able to work. It's just an engine and it needs that air. So just some tips. Of course, a lot of you guys have generators. You know all about this, but there are some of you guys that are out there searching. So I want to make sure I give you some good information. Again, good non-ethanol gas, vital. And get to know your generator, know what it does, know how to get it started. This one has the pull handle. Some of them have starters, and I'm a little bit dubious about different starters and things because sometimes they rely on electricity or they rely on certain things. And even like, so anyway, have you something really handy, a good solid gas generator, whether it's a small inverter, whether it's a big generator that puts out a lot of power. Guys, one thing that we're very fortunate about is if you look at your appliances, if you look at even light bulbs and things, they will have the power usage on it. And you can calculate how much you need to run. One of the beautiful things about LED lights is they drain very little power. So you can actually run a lamp off of a generator that will give you actual normal light, not necessarily your lights in your house. Also, if you do have a home generator, and you should know this, but for those of you who are looking around, is you need to be able to shut the main power off before you plug in your standard generator. Because the problem is, if you don't shut off your main power, when the power comes back on, it can absolutely destroy your generator. So just some tips about generators. This is something that to me is our first line of defense. We want to have this, but it's limited to the fuel. So if you can't get gasoline, if you can't get propane, and you can't get natural gas, this is going to have a limited time that you're going to be able to use it. So you may say, it's funny. We have some friends of ours that are homesteaders. I mean, they raise their own animals. They have huge gardens. They make their own remedies, medicines, all kind of stuff. They do a lot and are very into it. They didn't have a generator. When Helene hit, they were coming down from another area, and the wife said, "Hey, we don't have a generator." So they bought one. Thank goodness they could. I think it was the last one that was in a Lowe's, and they bought it. And man, they were glad they did because all of their food, all of that stuff would have been ruined. To me, a generator, the number one line of defense to keep your food going is power to your refrigerators, your freezers, those kind of things. Now, if your generator runs out, what do you do? Well, you go to plan B. Now, this is the EcoFlow. There are a number of different systems out there, and this is really this hooks up to a solar panel. We have a solar panel here, and this will hook up to the solar panel, and you can charge it during the day. It takes a really good charge. It holds a lot of power. I am so behind EcoFlow. We just bought 2 more. They run sales a lot of times. We bought another one of these, and then we bought a battery backup with it. and looks just like it actually. It just didn't have the screen. It's not as fancy. But this is a fantastic way to have power with solar. Now you can get all kind of sizes. They have smaller ones, they have large ones, they have home generators now. But this is more of a solar battery backup. And it's all contained, has all the information here. This is for the simpletons like me, who I'm not an electrician. And I have friends of mine that can give you all the details, every detail about it. Me, I just know that I have a certain amount of power I can run, and this is what we use. One thing I will give you a pro tip. If you have a Keurig, one of those coffee makers, do not use it on a battery because it will drain. It has a huge amount of power that it uses. Standard coffee makers, I used it on this every morning and it was great. It took very little power. Dryers, another thing that'll just take a lot of power. There are things that you just decide to back off from when you're limited to off-grid power. Get you a clothesline if you need to dry your clothes. But the EcoFlow has been phenomenal. And I'll tell you guys, I mean, I can't talk enough about it because, in fact, we're getting ready to do a big review. You can get solar panels with it. So here's the deal. You go, well, you've got your EcoFlow, so why do you need your gas generator? Well, when the sun goes down or the sun's covered up, like it was during Helene, there was a couple of days there where we had cloudy days. We were not getting as much charge and we were not able to fully charge our EcoFlow. This EcoFlow will run our refrigerator for 18 hours straight. No unplugging, just leave it in. We tested it. It was 16 to 18 hours. So this will give you quite a bit of power to back up your food source, which is going to be vital. But the fact is that you can have days that are not sunny. And so you could run into getting limited power out of your EcoFlow. What's beautiful about the gas generator, if gas is available, is that we took on those days when we had the sun down or the sun clouded over, we used our standard generator to charge up the EcoFlow. And then it was ready to go. And then we ran our gas generator. And we only did that when we were running it anyway. We can dual hook. We did dual things on there. So it allowed us to do that. Now, I do want to mention something. We will be taking questions. I didn't mention this a minute ago. You can leave them at any time. We're going to take a break here in a few minutes. I want to keep up with the time. Wow. I want to keep up with the time, but Sarah Mack will give me those questions. So we'll probably do that in the next couple of minutes, just to give her a heads up as well. But your solar panels, the higher the watt, the more sun you're going to harvest into your solar, whatever you're using. So 100-watt panel is not much. 400 watts is a pretty decent amount of power coming into your EcoFlow. And so making sure that you have power. Now, one of the things about your solar panels is that when you're putting them out, you want to face them toward the sun, obviously, directly as much as possible, but the sun moves. So you'll need to go out and adjust them as you can to follow the sun, and that'll give you the maximum amount of power. But speaking of solar panels, and I just picked this up at Harbor Freight. I'm going to review this. We're going to do some testing. But this is just one of those little solar panels that can charge items up to a certain level. In fact, I've got the box here. It's just a 9-watt foldable solar panel, but it's portable, easy to carry. And I can hook this up to my devices, and I have a great way to be able to get solar. This is the thing about gas. Gas is not sustainable in a long term. Your solar will be. Your solar, let's say that you haven't had gas in 6 months, you can still use your solar panels to charge your EcoFlows or whatever battery backup you have. But the gas is a great way to be able to supplement. So I like to have the tandem do both. And that way I've kind of got my bases covered. One thing good though about Harbor Freight, which I have some friends of mine that swear by their generators. They're like, we love their generators and they buy more. And one of the things that was kind of cool is that even with this panel, they have all kind of different solar connectors. And I'm not sponsored by Harbor Freight, but I should be because I spent a lot of money there. But they have all kind of different accessories that you can use with these different solar panels, and they have large panels as well. We just didn't need the larger ones. And I wanted to test out some of these smaller ones because, again, I can fold this up. I can put this in a backpack. I can stick this in my vehicle. I can do whatever. The other options that I have, they need to have some kind of charge on the batteries. And so this just gives me an option to be able to bring a solar panel out, and I can use that as well. So just a great thing. Okay, so if we have a few questions, we'll go to that. And if not, we'll keep going.
William Lancaster asked, how many watts is your Generac inverter generator on the table?
Let's see, because this is actually one we just picked up last. We haven't even, we actually ran this 2,500 watts. I think our full size Generac that we use behind our house is 4,800 watts. But yeah, 2,500 watts. And you have plug-ins. You know, you can plug directly in. There are fuses, and you may want to, like, well, that's not a fuse, but they have different little places here. You can do different things. And I mean, it's actually, we picked this up at Ace Hardware, and it's run great. Again, we have not actually used this one because we picked it up last year. We haven't had any problems substantial, except that we did use our big Generac.
Cynthia Allen asks, question, what do you think is the best, 87 or 93 octane?
93 octane will give you a better performance, period. In your vehicle, you know, let me just say this about non-ethanol fuel. Run that in your car because you're not going to keep it in your car longer than 3 months. It's made for that. It's fine. You're running it out. I just want to make that little caveat. The higher the octane, the better combustion you're going to get. So I would definitely go with the higher octane. Now, the higher octane is typically more expensive. So you need to weigh that out. But if you're using high test fuel, a lot of that is still ethanol. So just make sure that you're using non-ethanol, and you're going to be way ahead of the game.
DZ Wren asks, what do you suggest for a small fridge to run off of? An EcoFlow power supply?
Yeah, I mean, EcoFlow would work great, and there are different sizes. Now we also have the Jackery, and we don't have one of the big ones. In fact, a buddy of mine just sent it to me. He gave it to me. It was just a smaller. It's about the size of a good lunchbox, and that was used really to power up a lot of our devices. You know, whether it was lights or laptops or different things like that, and it can do that. They do have larger systems. I haven't tested them out, so. And that's one thing I would like to do because I am such a fan of this. And there are other sources out there. I have a friend of mine that lives up in Michigan, and he has this whole setup. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things that you can do, a lot of different systems out there. And some people, you know, check out Engineer 775 with Practical Preppers. He puts in solar panels and solar units all over the country. And he's a very knowledgeable guy. I mean, it would give you a lot of information on solar if you want to go beyond these portable units.
Smoke says, hello from Southwest Idaho. Hats off to all the veterans and active military and their families. God bless America.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that. And yes, Veterans Day is today. Don't forget to just be gracious and grateful to our veterans who have served. And doesn't matter if they've served in the kitchen or on the front lines. They're part of the defense of this country. And we really do salute you. Thank you for bringing that up.
Aaron Gore says, do you have any plans to do a video with the author of Modern Survival Manual, Fernando Aguirre, regarding his book and the Argentina economic collapse?
Let me tell you, we have talked a number of times, and he has reached out to me. He's noticed that I really love his book, which I do. And you know, it's funny. I typically will have it right here. If you haven't read, and all you have to do is put in Google FERFAL, FERFAL, just one word. The Modern Survival Manual for the Coming Economic Collapse, about actual events that happened in Argentina when they had their economic collapse. And it'll change your thinking about grid down, about SHTF or whatever. I mean, it really is great. And he and I have been talking about doing something together. He's just trying to catch me. I love him. I love him to death. He is such a great guy. But that is a really interesting book. In fact, the book is linked. We don't have to look it up. It's down in our description because I would bring it up so many times. I thought, well, let me put an Amazon link at the bottom. So I did. But if you are interested in knowing real world events, not the scenarios that we dream up in our head, which I'm as guilty as anybody, is to read that book. It is exceptional. And I've bought multiple copies. I've given them out to friends. Highly recommend that book. And again, it is down in the link description below. So is our website. And again, I know I came in earlier and said this, but in case you joined in late, we are giving away an Olight Arc Pro. This is their brand new light. These aren't even available, but they will be coming up with the Black Friday, I believe. Phenomenal light. And again, all you got to do is go over to suchgear.com. This will not be up until tomorrow because I thought about it the last minute, but I wanted to get it on here. So go ahead and check us out. And we really do appreciate you guys going over there. We do a lot of cool stuff.
The Lamb is the Light says, I have the EcoFlow like yours. I have 2 panels at 200 watts each. Should I get 2 more of the same? Is there a wrong kind of panels to add to the 2?
As long as you have the right connectors, I think is the main thing, the right connectors. Solar panels will just generate, the power. They put it into it. 400 watts to me is a good amount, and it should run most of the stuff that you're trying to do as far as in a grid down situation. I know with 100 watt, you're kind of low. You're low on the totem pole, but 400 watts. The more panels that you have, the faster it's going to charge your system. So, that's really the good rule of thumb. Again, I will just candidly admit that I am not a professional when it comes to all the ins and outs. I have friends that are, though, and that's what you need. You need friends that are. But this is, to me, and if you've got this size and if you got 400 watts, you're doing pretty good. That's what we had. And we experienced that we really were impressed with the EcoFlow. And that was, again, for a whole solid week of just power out. Okay, let's go to one more. You have one more since you're getting ready to say it, and then I'll jump on because I want to cover some more stuff.
Have you read the Stone Mount series by Stephen Smith? Excellent source of survival beyond a collapse.
No, have not. But Sarah Mac will make a note of that. I'm always looking for good survival books. Listen, guys, you need to build your survival library. A couple that I'm going to highly recommend just off the top of my head is John Wesley Rawls and the Survivor series. Top notch. It made me think of so many different things. And just as important is the Going Home series by Angry American or Chris Weatherman. Personal friend of mine on top of that. That series is phenomenal. And there are many others. There are G. Michael Gordon and his series of New World, Glenn Tate, 299 Days, fantastic series. Build yourself a survival library. What it'll do is it's very entertaining because it goes through the scenarios, but it gives you tidbits constantly about how to build your prepping. It has inspired me in so many ways. Okay, let's go to the next one. And we'll come back to some questions if we have time. I've got a little clock over here, but I hit it. Usually I try to put it out where I can see it. Okay, so we have our battery backups. Now, one thing that's kind of unique is having items that will charge like this. We have this Olight, and this is the audience. I had to look. Great light. This will actually even mount. It's a work light. It'll mount to a tripod. It has a number of different features to it. And it has bright light, and it gets really bright. And then you can turn it on around. Let's see if I can. And then we can go to different modes, and we can even go to more of an kind of an oil lamp light look. Great light. I love this. Has a carry handle. I can adjust this. I can set it down. But the reason I brought it out was it has connection at the back where I can charge devices. So this gives me a battery backup while this is a lot heavier, and you can get lighter versions. But I've got this, but here I've got light, and I've got really good light. And then I have a way to be able to charge devices. So there's a lot of different items that are out there that'll do this. And to me, having redundancy with your power banks can be very important, especially in a grid down situation. Here we just have one of the O-lanterns, and this also here at the back, I can just open this up where I charge it. I can go back here, excuse me, and I can charge my phone. I can charge my flashlights. I can charge a laptop. I can do different things with it. Now, it does take away the power of the primary, but in an emergency situation, That was hard for me to say. Emergency situation. This is going to be something that is dual purpose. I love dual purpose. I love to have multiple ways to be able to do things. But also I can listen to music. This is actually has Bluetooth and you have a speaker. Hey, you got to live in a survival world, right? You can listen to REM, The End of the World as We Know It. Flashlights. Now, there are a number of flashlights that'll have charges. The reason why I brought this one out, this is you know, guys, I'm a big Olight fan, and I do. I love them, and I use them all the time. The one thing I love about the Olight is that, you know, I can pop this on, I can plug this USB into a charging system and keep this charged in any situation. And you know, you can pull the battery out and plug it in and do the same thing. I love this because it's so convenient, because all I have to do is do this and I'm ready to go again. Or I can just leave it and it's ready to go. So that makes a great way. Another thing, and actually this is kind of funny, but you should have an emergency radio. I mean, it's really important. A weather radio, an emergency radio has maybe shortwave or different channels to get information in a grid down situation. Maybe our phones aren't working because, number one, they could just be overloaded. Number two, we could have maybe an EMP. Now, you want to put this in a Faraday bag, but you have a way to be able to know what's going on around you. And that is very important. You don't want to be in the dark. And gives us the information. But, and this is the C Crank. It's the Radio Solar. I did a review on this. Has a solar panel, hand crank, so I can crank it. Has rechargeable batteries, but it has a little button you can flick and put in AA batteries. Ingenious system. But what's also cool is that I have a connection port right here where I can plug in and I can use this as a battery backup. Now, what makes this actually more unique is that it does have solar. It does have a hand crank. So even if the sun's not going, I can sit there and I can turn. Now, you know, your wrist might get tired, but you can get your phone up to a certain level or whatever you have. And it has a nice antenna. But having something like this gives you a lot of options. And it's something that the main purpose for this is a radio. Have it set out. If you have storms coming, guys, this picks up the NOAA weather station. It will give you alerts if something's going on in your area. And it's one of the things that happened to us a while back. We had a big thunderstorm coming through and there were tornadoes. And I had my weather radio set to where it would sound off alarms. Well, there's nothing more enjoyable than at 3 o'clock in the morning having that thing go off. But it can save your life. And that's really the purpose behind this thing. But there's a number of different items. So when you see something that has, oh, this can charge this and this, don't look at that as a gimmick. Look at that as and I know a lot of you guys haven't, but look at this as a possibility. The funny thing is even on these small little panels or these little chargers, and if I could get the thing on, you know, they typically have like a flashlight with it. And if I turn this on, I won't be able to get it off. But you have a flashlight. So having redundancy, especially in a bad situation, and now we got signal. And then we got this. Okay, we'll just have to charge that again later. But having different ways, they all these have lights on them actually. And it's pretty cool because it just gives you redundancy. A lot of times in the past, I've looked at things and I thought, oh, that's cool, but I'll never use that. But you may. And your primary is your power, but then your secondary, if for some reason your flashlight is dead and you don't have a charging cable. One thing I do want to mention about all of these is make sure that you do have charging cables. Make sure that you have, if you have an iPhone like I do, I want to have my USB-C. What's funny is I had this cable out a minute ago, right before we went on the live, and my phone was kind of getting low. And so I went ahead and stuck in my USB. I thought, oh, this is USB-C. I'll put it in. This is USB micro. It doesn't work. So making sure that I have the right cables. And I'll tell you, it made me a believer when I was up in Charlotte. I was up actually visiting Classic Firearms, and my GPS took me a different way than it brought me in. And then I ended up going out and losing signal. I was in the middle of nowhere. It would pop up and pop down. And then they were having road construction on top of that, and it was giving me all kind of signals. And then I looked at my phone. I didn't have my charger in my car, and I didn't have a phone charger, and my phone was dying. So I was able to stop by a store, pick it up. Here's the thing, guys. While the stores are open, a lot of this stuff is just a little inconvenient. You can fix it. If you don't have a store open, if you don't have a place that you can do, if you're too far out, You need to have some things set aside because you can get in a bad situation. Now let's see. Why don't we, sis, if we have a few questions, we can go to them and then we'll kind of wrap things up. We're good? Okay. I don't know what that means, but I guess we'll just continue. So, having a way to get yourself in a good shape. Here's the thing, guys. There is the PACE, and it's the primary, alternative. There is contingency, and there's emergency. So, primary is I walk over, flip the switch, the light's on, no problem. Then we have alternative. Well, I don't have that, but instead I have a generator. So that is my alternative. It's a way to keep the power on. I have my EcoFlow, I have my generator, I have those kind of things. Then there's contingency. Let's say, you know what? I'm out of gas. The sun's low, or maybe this is my contingency is the solar. The solar's my backup. I have it ready to go, but then there's no sun. Then you have emergency. And that's where you're bringing out your fire kit. You're going back to the Stone Age. You're pulling out your oil, your lamp oil, and you're getting your wicks ready, and you have your lamps going. Not your lanterns like this that are battery powered that can charge your units, but you have just the old-fashioned way. Okay, what do we got?
Phil Gray says, have you integrated timers into grid down events? In other words, timing your fridge to turn on and off at certain intervals.
Yeah, I know. No, I have not. And that's a great idea. What we typically would do is, and you are busy, that's one thing about any kind of power outage, grid down of any sort is you will think, man, we're busy because you're doing things. We live in a very convenient world. That's a great idea though, having timers. And that way you can kind of keep up with things. And two, it doesn't just continue to run the power. Now, one thing that I saw a while back was you take a bottle and you fill it halfway and you put it in your freezer and then you freeze it and then you turn it over and then you go on vacation. When you come back, you look at it. And if the water's drained to the bottom, you've had a power outage. It's one of the things that a lot of times we don't think about. When you're on vacation, you could have a power outage and you don't even know it. So it's one of those things. And two, sometimes if it's on for just a little while, there'll be some water. But then if it's on for a long time, it's like all of it's drained, possibly your food's no good.
Another way someone has done it before is putting a quarter on top of the frozen water, and then you can see how long it's actually been, depending on how deep the water or the quarter is in the water.
Thank you. Very nice. Yes, I actually have seen that. Here's the thing, guys, and this is what I want to mention is in the comments, make sure that you do leave different thoughts and ideas, because that's one thing that we are here as a community. No one knows everything. And so it really makes it good to be able to have those things out there because there are a lot of questions when it comes to survival, and there should be.
The Lamb is the Light says, need advice on testing and treating spring water piped from the mountain to our reservoir, then into the yard. We used this during Helene. It flows all the time with a runoff pipe. That's
great. That, having a natural spring, we have one, we have not developed. I've been in there digging around, but, it's one of the things that I want to do right. And I have a friend of mine that's going to come help me to set this up. But it's funny because we just did a video on using our dehydrator to collect water, to harvest water. And within 12, dehumidifier. Yeah, dehydrator is not what you want. A dehumidifier. And it has a tank at the bottom. We pulled it out. Now, we tested. We had to test the water because you don't know. And I got these. It's 16-in-1. It's these little strips. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of things because I wouldn't recommend this as far as a permanent way to do it. The best way to do it is to have a sample sent. Or a lot of times, even your local municipality water system will test your water for you. I know where we lived before in Western North Carolina, they did that. And because there were a lot of wells. And so it was important to go, even with a well, and have your water tested every so often to make sure that it was good, that it had something hadn't contaminated it. So I would recommend that first highly. I think Clemson University, which is not too far from us, they do that. And the water source here does that. So find a place that will test your water. To me, that is the one thing you definitely should do. Secondly, in between time, is I have this. In fact, again, when I had the dehumidifier, I had this little, it came in a little capsule, it had 100 test strips in it. It has all the different things that can be in your water. And then you take the test strip, you dip it in the water, and then you put it next to the bottle and you can check it. That's an off grid, by the way. That would be more off grid. While you've got technology and all that, have them check it out because they can find things that you may not know that this may not pick up. But we tested the dehumidifier and actually everything was pretty good. We didn't have much alkalinity or much pH, which could be treated to do that. We have a pool, so we know about all that. But then, which this was key, we had with it were some bacteria tests. So we put the strip down and it was great. I mean, everything looked fine. We were good. Brought the bacteria test out, put 2 milligrams or whatever milliliters of water in it, closed it up, left it for 24 to 48 hours. It was covered in bacteria, covered. It was, it had certain tests and it was like, this has definitely got bacteria in it. Well, we weren't really keeping it as clean as we would if we were going to use it as a drinkable, potable water source. We were just using it and then dumping it and putting it back. And so 2 things with that is we treated it. Sarah Mack actually cleaned it, got Clorox bleach, got bleach in there and cleaned it really well. We ran it for another 12 hours, which it actually in 12 hours, it produced 1.5 gallons, and that's for our area, which we're in South Carolina. It's a little bit humid down here. So we got the water, tested it again, and it was clear. The bacteria wasn't showing. So, and then I heard this, if you do have a dehumidifier and you saw that video and you're like, oh, that's great, take the tank and put it in your dishwasher and clean it every once in a while. Because really those things have these bars and everything on it. So it was really difficult for her to get that clean. And I knew it would be because I could see how it was. So this way you can actually keep it clean by just putting it in your dishwasher every once in a while to keep that clean. But I would keep some bleach. Now, one thing about it is the bacteria and all that. Yeah, it's bad. So boil the water. And you may want to do that anyway. Just like with the well or spring is in the meantime, if you want to use it or you had to keep yourself just redundant safe is to boil it or put a little bit of bleach, just a little bit of bleach according to the amount of water you have and treat it that way. And so that'll give you regardless of test or not, you can always go back to boiling and to bleach.
DZRN says, would water from a sump pump be usable after treatment?
Here's the thing, and it's the same thing with the dehumidifier. Sometimes water can sit. Sometimes water we don't know what's going on with the pipes. And 2, the water you're pulling up from a sump pump may or may not be good. I would refer back to the test that we did on the dehumidifier, whether it's, doing the test strips, doing the bacteria test. And those are things that you can get. I got them on eBay. They weren't expensive and it was pretty cool. And one thing too I did, excuse me, is I had a gasoline tester. I went ahead and ordered it as well to test gasoline. If it's been sitting for a while, you can test it. There's a lot of cool things like that are no technology. It just, you push it in and you get the results right then. So try that and check the sump pump. Keep it clean as you can, what you need to do, and then hopefully you can use that water. Here's the thing, guys. Even if you can't drink the water, you may have a limited amount of water. And so you can flush your toilets with it. You can water the plants with it. I mean, there's a number of things you can do with water that's not necessarily drinkable, but you can use it for other things. One thing I do want to mention here is that we have rain catchment systems. And a friend of mine mentioned, he said there's acetone that they use in the process of your shingles. And so I was like, oh, well, you can filter acetone out. I mean, there are ways to filter it out. But this buddy of mine, Martin, who lives up in Black Mountain, North Carolina, completely off the grid. He depends on water, rain catchment water for his water source. He told me, he said, look, dude, he goes, if that's the only water you've got, he goes, dying of thirst is going to happen way before the acetone is going to have any effect on you. So there are times where we're taking risk to live short term, from a short term death to a little bit long term problems later on. So you have to weigh those out. And you need to kind of think about that. You don't want to go, oh, I don't want to drink that. That's poison. Now, on the other hand, if you get water that's contaminated and it's got some nasties in it, it can kill you. But even if it doesn't, it'll make you wish you were dead. So water testing is very important. Okay. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna kind of wrap it up. I'm gonna just go over, guys, again, gasoline or propane or even natural gas in a generator. Again, if you have a home generator and it's running on natural gas, great. And you're in good shape pretty much for 99% of the time. But there can be a disruption in the natural gas pipelines. They can have to shut them off. There are different things. Keep that in mind. Having a backup is going to be really smart. I would really look at a backup like the EcoFlow. This runs on solar panels. It's sustainable. The problem is with your gas is that if gas goes down, if we goes out and gas is not available with the EcoFlow or any kind of solar backup, is you're going to have downtimes when it's overcast, but this is going to give you more of a sustainable long-term storage power option. Again, make sure your power cords are good, especially for your gas generators. Solar panels, the more solar panels you have, the faster you're going to be able to charge your different units, especially like at a home. You see they've got those big, huge grids, but there are a lot of portable units as well that are great. And those can be great for devices. Again, you got your standard battery backups. That's great. But then there are other options that give us power that we're not even thinking about. It's redundant. We have our radio, sorry. We have our lanterns. We have our different lights. There's a lot of different things where we can use to charge things up. So just a very, again, having multiple ways is going to get you through, because I'm going to tell you guys, as old Murphy says, what can go wrong will go wrong. And so having those backups will just give you some layers of protection. Okay. Again, Arc failed. No, the Arc Pro. The Arc Pro, brand new light from Olight. We're going to be giving this away. It'll start tomorrow. We'll have all the details down because I decided this, but I hadn't set it up. This is not even available yet. So this is something we're going to be giving away on suchgear.com. So run over to SuchGear, go ahead and get signed up. And we've got a newsletter. We do giveaways. We do all kind of cool things. We have a lot of merch over there that's Such Sensible Prepper merch and a lot of other stuff. So check out suchgear.com, and we really do appreciate it. So again, we appreciate it so much. We're going to give away this flashlight. And the only reason I'm giving this one away is because I got one in my pocket that I love. Okay, so, and also a big thanks to Exotac. They sponsor our channel. And guys, you need a fire kit. Again, it'll boil your water. It cooks your food. It gives you light. It'll give you heat, keeps predators at bay, and it just builds good morale. And you get 20% off using Such20 with the link down below in the description. And we love Exotac. In fact, this past weekend at Georgia Bushcraft, Rob Falkenhayn was down there, who started Exotac. He was the founder, and he and I are good friends. And I'm going to tell you guys, these are the best fire starting tools. There are cheaper tools out there. And guys, if you don't have a fire kit, get yourself a fire kit. It doesn't have to be Exotac, but if you want the best, go with Exotac. A big thank you to Sarah Mack, and she sets everything up and helps me get things going. And of course, getting the questions to me. And guys, a big thank you to you. We really do appreciate you coming along. We love the questions. You guys always have some good things that not only are great for everyone, but also challenge me a lot of the time. And Lord knows I need challenging. And also we just really, it just helps the community as a whole, because guys, the better my neighbor's prepared, the better I'm prepared. Always remember that. So we're going to sign off. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic, and happy Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day.